In the vibrant village of Nyansa, nestled among rolling hills and lush greenery, life thrived under the watchful gaze of the sacred river. This river was no ordinary body of water. It was believed to be home to powerful water spirits, protectors of the land and its people. The villagers revered the river, celebrating its life-giving force during the annual Festival of the Waters, where songs and dances echoed through the air, honoring the spirits that sustained them. At the heart of this community were the guardians of the sacred river, a group tasked with maintaining the harmony between the villagers and the spirits. The guardians were led by two remarkable individuals: Kwame, a brave warrior with a heart as strong as his resolve, and Zuri, a wise healer known for her compassion and innovative ideas. Together, they embodied the spirit of Nyansa, navigating the delicate balance of tradition and progress. As the festival approached, excitement filled the air, but so did an undercurrent of tension. Kwame held firmly to the old ways, believing that the customs of their ancestors were the only path to ensure the village's prosperity. Zuri, on the other hand, envisioned a future where the village could adapt and thrive, integrating new ideas while respecting their heritage. This clash of beliefs created ripples among the villagers, who were divided on the path forward. "Tradition is our lifeblood," Zuri, Kwame asserted one evening, as they prepared for the festival. "We must honor our ancestors and the ways they have protected us. Change can bring chaos." Zuri met his gaze, unwavering. "But Kwame, the world is changing. If we do not adapt, we risk stagnation. Our people want to flourish, not merely survive." Their debate echoed through the village, drawing the attention of the elders, who sensed the growing discord. They feared that such division could anger the spirits, who had always provided for them. The elders called for a meeting, urging unity and respect for the traditions that had long sustained Nyansa. Despite the elders' warnings, many villagers began to voice their support for Zuri's ideas. They wanted to explore new methods of farming and sustainable practices that could bolster their food supply. Kwame felt increasingly isolated, clinging to his belief that the old ways were the only path to protection. As whispers of rebellion spread, he began to worry that the village was drifting from its roots. Just as the village began to embrace change, disaster struck. One morning, as the sun rose over Nyansa, the sacred river that nourished their crops and spirits suddenly ran dry. Panic spread through the village like wildfire. Children who played by the river's banks stood in disbelief, their laughter replaced by cries of confusion and fear. The elders, once the bearers of wisdom, were now burdened by the weight of despair. "The spirits are displeased," one elder cried. "We have lost their favor. We must return to the old ways and seek their forgiveness." Kwame felt vindicated in his traditional beliefs, while Zuri's heart sank at the thought of abandoning the very progress they had begun to embrace. As villagers gathered, their faces painted with worry, the guardians convened in secret to discuss their next steps. "We cannot wait for the spirits to come back," Zuri urged. "We must seek the reason for the river's disappearance. We owe it to our people." Kwame nodded, though doubt lingered in his eyes. "But how do we enter the spirit realm? It is a dangerous journey." "We need to gather the other guardians," Zuri suggested. "Together, we can confront the spirits and plead for understanding." Reluctantly, Kwame agreed. They gathered the remaining guardians, each representing a unique aspect of the village. There was Juma, a skilled hunter known for his keen instincts; Naya, a farmer with deep knowledge of the land; and Tund, a craftsman whose hands could shape anything into beauty. United, they prepared for their journey into the spirit realm, hoping to restore the river and their village's peace. As night fell, they set out toward the sacred grove, where the veil between worlds was thinnest. The air buzzed with anticipation and fear. Kwame led the way, his heart pounding with a mixture of determination and doubt. Zuri walked beside him, her mind racing with thoughts of how to mend the rift between tradition and progress. Upon reaching the grove, they formed a circle, joining hands and invoking the spirits through an ancient chant. The air shimmered, and the ground trembled as they were enveloped in a blinding light. Moments later, they found themselves in the spirit realm, a realm filled with vibrant colors and ethereal beings. Water flowed in all directions, but it felt distant and cold, as if the spirits were watching from afar. Suddenly, a voice echoed around them, deep and resonant. "Who dares disturb our realm?" A figure emerged from the waters, a magnificent water spirit with flowing hair that shimmered like liquid silver. Kwame stepped forward, his heart racing. "We are the guardians of Nyansa. We seek to understand why the river has dried up and how we can regain your favor." The spirit regarded them with piercing eyes. "Your village has strayed from the balance. You cling to traditions that no longer serve you, while dismissing the wisdom of change. The river reflects your discord." Kwame felt a surge of anger. "We have honored our ancestors. It is the younger generation that seeks change without regard for our ways." Zuri interjected, her voice steady. "We must find a way to blend the old with the new. Our village cannot thrive in division. We need your guidance, Great Spirit." The water spirit considered their words, a flicker of interest in its gaze. "To restore the river, you must prove that you can unite your people. This task will not be easy, for the path of change is fraught with trials." As the spirit spoke, the guardians felt a wave of energy wash over them, igniting their resolve. They were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, but the spirit's next words brought a chill to the air. "You will face your greatest fears and the consequences of your choices. Only through sacrifice can you find true balance." With that, the spirit vanished, leaving the guardians to ponder its words. Kwame clenched his fists, his mind racing. What does this mean for us? What sacrifices must we make? Zuri glanced at the others, her heart heavy with the weight of their mission. We must be willing to confront our beliefs and fears. Only then can we hope to heal the rift within our village. As they prepared to return to Nyansa, the atmosphere shifted. Tensions that had simmered beneath the surface began to rise, and the journey back would test not only their resolve, but their unity as guardians. Upon returning to the village, they were met with anxious faces, each villager eager for answers. Kwame stood before them, his voice strong but his heart pounding. "We have seen the spirits. They demand that we find unity among ourselves before we can restore the river." Zuri added, "We must show the spirits that we can blend our traditions with new ideas. This is our path forward together." But even as they spoke, murmurs of dissent spread through the crowd. Some villagers still clung to the old ways, unwilling to embrace change. Others were eager for progress, questioning the relevance of the past. The divide deepened, and Kwame felt a sense of foreboding. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the crowd. A young man named Ayo, known for his fierce loyalty to tradition. "How can we trust the spirits when our own guardians cannot agree? You want us to abandon the ways that have sustained us for generations." Kwame opened his mouth to respond, but the words caught in his throat. Ayo's anger echoed the sentiments of many, and doubt crept in. Would they truly be able to unite the villagers, or would they face the wrath of the spirits as a divided community? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the village, the air grew thick with uncertainty. Kwame and Zuri exchanged glances, both sensing the weight of the task ahead. The festival was only days away, and the river remained dry. Time was running out. With a heavy heart, Kwame stepped forward once more. We must hold a gathering at the sacred grove, where we can confront these divisions head-on. It is time for each voice to be heard. But as the villagers murmured among themselves, the tension in the air crackled like electricity. Would they come together, or would the divide only deepen, risking their very connection to the river and the spirits that protected them? And so, with the fate of their village hanging in the balance, the guardians of the sacred river prepared for the most crucial gathering of their lives, unaware of the trials that awaited them and the sacrifices they would need to make to save their home. As twilight enveloped the village of Nyansa, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation and unease. The sacred grove, usually a place of tranquility, seemed to pulse with the weight of unspoken fears. Kwame and Zuri stood at its entrance, gazing at the gathering villagers. The flickering light of torches cast dancing shadows on the ground, illuminating faces, etched with concern and uncertainty. "Are we prepared for what lies ahead?" Zuri asked quietly, her heart heavy with the burden of their mission. Kwame nodded, though doubt lingered in his eyes. "We must show them that the only way forward is together. The spirits will not look kindly upon our division." As the villagers trickled into the grove, the tension was palpable. Ayo stood near the front, arms crossed defiantly, his expression resolute. Behind him, a mixture of anxious faces revealed the divisions among them. There were those who longed for change, like Tundan and Nia, eager to explore new practices, while others, steeped in tradition, stood firmly in their beliefs. Kwame cleared his throat, raising his hands to quiet the crowd. "Thank you all for coming. We are here tonight to confront the discord that has threatened our village and the spirits who sustain us." Murmurs of discontent rippled through the crowd, but he pressed on. "We must acknowledge the rift that has formed between our values, between tradition and progress. The spirits have made it clear, if we do not unite, we risk losing everything." Ayo stepped forward, his voice ringing out. "But how can we trust the spirits when we ourselves cannot agree? You ask us to change what has worked for generations. How can we abandon the teachings of our ancestors?" Kwame met his gaze, trying to quell his rising frustration. "We are not abandoning our traditions, Ayo. We are adapting them. The spirits themselves have shown us that balance is necessary. We must honor the past while embracing the future." "Your words sound noble, Kwam, but we need more than promises," Ayo retorted. "We need a clear path." "How can we find that path when you and Zuri cannot even agree?" Zuri stepped forward, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "The spirits demand unity, but that unity must come from understanding. We need to listen to each other, to hear the fears and hopes of both sides. Only then can we craft a new way forward." As Zuri spoke, the crowd began to shift uneasily. Some nodded in agreement, while others continued to scowl, arms folded tightly across their chests. Kwame could feel the divide deepening, and time was running out. The river had not returned, and with each passing day, the villagers grew more desperate. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, an elder named Mama Essie, known for her wisdom and deep connection to the spirits. She walked with a grace that belied her years, her eyes gleaming with insight. "My children," she said softly, her voice carrying a soothing calm. "It is not the words that matter most, but the intentions behind them. We must remember that we are all guardians of this land, and our choices shape our future." The crowd quieted, drawn in by her presence. "Kwame and Zuri are correct. We must find harmony between our past and our future. But this will require patience and compassion. Let us each share our thoughts, our fears, and our dreams for Nyansa." Kwame watched as Mama Essie's words began to resonate with the villagers. One by one, they shared their stories. Nia spoke of her struggles as a farmer facing unpredictable weather, longing for methods that could ensure a consistent harvest. Tunde expressed his desire to craft tools that could help the villagers adapt to changing conditions, but he felt held back by tradition. Ayo listened, his brow furrowing in contemplation. I understand your fears, but we must be cautious. What if we lose our way? What if the spirits abandon us entirely? Zuri took a step forward, her heart racing as she felt the weight of the moment. We can honor our ancestors while creating a future that sustains us. This is not a betrayal, but an evolution. The spirits, too, evolve with us. As the night wore on, voices rose and fell, like the gentle ripples of a stream, each story weaving a tapestry of hopes and fears. The villagers slowly began to see the threads that connected them, the common desire for a thriving Nyansa. Yet, even amid this growing understanding, the tension remained. Kwame and Zuri exchanged glances, sensing the undercurrents that still threatened to pull them apart. Ayo's face remained stoic, his skepticism still simmering beneath the surface. As the gathering drew to a close, Kwame felt a surge of determination. Let us not leave here without a plan. We need to demonstrate our unity to the spirits. We should hold a ceremony that honors both our traditions and the new practices we wish to adopt. We can weave our customs into a tapestry that represents all of us. A cheer rose from some villagers, but Ayo remained skeptical. And what if the spirits do not accept this new path? What if they demand sacrifice? Kwame nodded, understanding the gravity of Ayo's words. We must be willing to face whatever challenges lie ahead. This is not merely about appeasing the spirits, it is about securing our future. As the villagers discussed their plans, Zuri caught a glimpse of the shimmering river in the distance, a haunting reminder of what was at stake. The spirits were watching, and she could feel the weight of their expectations. That night, as the stars twinkled overhead, Zuri lay awake, contemplating the trials that awaited them. The path forward would not be easy, and she feared the divisions within the village might lead to further disaster. She closed her eyes, whispering a silent prayer to the spirits, hoping for guidance. In the days that followed, the village worked tirelessly to prepare for the ceremony. They decorated the grove with flowers and crafted offerings to honor the spirits. Kwame and Zuri worked closely together, their shared purpose helping to mend the rift between them. They sought input from the villagers, gathering ideas and weaving them into a plan that would reflect the heart of Nyansa. As the day of the ceremony approached, Zuri felt a mix of excitement and dread. The villagers gathered once more in the sacred grove, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of torches. She could sense the weight of anticipation hanging in the air, a mix of hope and fear. Kwame stood at the front, addressing the crowd with a commanding presence. Today, we gather not just to honor the spirits, but to honor each other. We are bound together by our love for this land and our shared dreams for our future. Let this ceremony be a testament to our unity. Zuri stepped forward, her heart racing as she prepared to speak. We are here to acknowledge the old ways that have sustained us, but we are also here to embrace new ideas that will help us thrive. Together, we will create a ritual that honors both. As the ceremony began, the villagers performed dances that echoed ancient traditions, while incorporating new movements that reflected their evolving identity. The rhythm of drums filled the air, mingling with the songs that spoke of love, resilience, and hope. Kwame and Zuri joined in, their spirits lifted as they felt the power of their collective energy. But just as the energy peaked, the atmosphere shifted. Dark clouds gathered above, blocking the moonlight and casting an ominous shadow over the grove. A chill swept through the crowd, and whispers of concern filled the air. Ayo's voice rang out, cutting through the tension. The spirits are angry. We are not worthy of their favor. Kwame felt a knot tighten in his stomach. No, we must not lose hope. This is a test. We must show the spirits that we are united." But the dark clouds continued to swirl, and lightning crackled in the distance. Zuri sensed the growing unrest among the villagers. The divide that had been healing now threatened to split them apart once more. She could feel the fear rising like a wave ready to crash. "Everyone, please," Zuri called out, her voice rising above the chaos. "We must stand together. This is our moment to show the spirits our strength." Yet as she spoke, the storm intensified, and a powerful wind whipped through the grove, extinguishing the torches and plunging them into darkness. Panic erupted among the villagers, and Io shouted above the din, "The spirits do not accept us. We are doomed." In the chaos, Quam's voice rang out, "Hold on to each other. We cannot let fear divide us." But as the storm raged, the ground trembled beneath their feet, and a deep, resonant voice echoed through the darkness. "You dare to disturb the balance? Your disunity has angered us." The villagers fell silent, fear gripping their hearts. Zuri's breath quickened as she strained to see through the darkness. "We must plead with the spirits. They are testing our resolve." Just then, a blinding flash of lightning illuminated the grove, revealing a massive water spirit emerging from the river, its form majestic and terrifying. The spirit's eyes glowed like stars, reflecting both fury and sorrow. "Your voices are fractured, your hearts divided," the spirit proclaimed, its voice a thunderous rumble. "You must confront your fears and your choices. Only then will the river return." Kwame and Zuri stood at the forefront, their hearts pounding. They knew this was the moment of truth, a moment that would define not only their village, but also their very souls. "We are willing to confront our fears," Kwame shouted, his voice steady despite the tempest around them. "We will show you our unity." Zuri nodded, her heart racing as she stepped forward. "We will not let our past bind us. We will honor our traditions while embracing change. We stand together no matter the cost." As the storm raged on, the spirit regarded them with a mix of skepticism and hope. "You must face your greatest fears, for the path ahead is fraught with trials. Only through sacrifice can you find the balance you seek." With those words hanging in the air, the ground beneath them trembled once more. Kwame and Zuri exchanged glances, the weight of the challenge ahead settling heavily on their shoulders. They had united the villagers in purpose, but would they be able to confront the trials the spirits demanded? As the storm continued to rage, the villagers held their breath, each person reflecting on their choices and fears. The moment had arrived, and the path to redemption lay before them, dark and uncertain. Yet even amid the chaos, a flicker of hope ignited within Zuri. She believed that together they could face whatever trials awaited them. The spirit had challenged them to prove their worthiness, and she was determined to do just that. As the winds howled and the darkness closed in around them, Zuri felt a surge of energy coursing through her veins. She would not allow fear to consume them. They would rise together, face the trials, and restore the river that had nourished their lives for generations. And so, as the storm raged on, the guardians of the sacred river braced themselves for the challenges ahead, unaware of the sacrifices they would need to make to secure the future of Nyansa. The journey was far from over, and their greatest test was yet to come. The storm howled around the sacred grove, a chaotic symphony of nature's fury echoing the turmoil within the hearts of the villagers. The colossal water spirit loomed before them, its eyes blazing like twin suns. Kwame and Zuri stood firm, embodying the resolve of the guardians. But doubt clung to the air like the heavy scent of rain. "Face your fears," the spirit boomed, its voice reverberating through the trees. Only then can you restore balance and win back the river." The villagers looked to each other, uncertainty written on their faces. Kwame felt the weight of their expectations, knowing the spirit's words were not merely a challenge, but a truth that resonated within each of them. Zuri stepped forward, her heart racing. "We are willing to confront our fears, Great Spirit. What trials must we face?" The spirit regarded her with a piercing gaze. "You must journey into the depths of your hearts, confront the shadows that lurk within, and emerge stronger. Only then will you be worthy of the river's return." With a wave of its hand, the spirit summoned a shimmering portal, swirling with colors that seemed to pulse with life. The villagers gasped, and Zuri felt a mix of fear and excitement. "We will face this together," she said, looking back at Kwame and the other guardians. "We can do this." Kwame nodded, steeling himself. "Let us show the spirits our unity." They stepped into the portal, a sensation like plunging into cool water enveloping them. The world around them shifted, and they found themselves in a vast expanse, surrounded by echoes of their past. Memories floated before them, familiar faces, lost moments, choices that had shaped their lives. The first trial came swiftly. They were thrust into a scene from their childhood. A moment of innocence turned to fear. Young Kwame stood at the riverbank, watching as his brother nearly drowned while they played. The chilling sense of helplessness washed over him. "Save him!" the young Kwame cried, his voice filled with desperation. Suddenly, he found himself paralyzed, fear gripping him as he watched his brother struggle. Zuri, sensing his turmoil, stepped beside him. "You have the strength to act, Kwame. Remember your training, your love for your brother." With those words, Kwame felt a surge of energy. He lunged forward, reaching into the depths of the memory, pulling his brother to safety. As the vision faded, he felt lighter, the weight of guilt lifting. "I couldn't save him then, but I can honor him now," he said, determination flashing in his eyes. Next, they faced Zuri's trial. She found herself in a barren field, the villagers looking to her for guidance as their crops wilted under a scorching sun. Doubt filled her heart as she recalled the skepticism that had surrounded her innovative ideas. "What if they don't trust me?" she whispered to Kwame, feeling the pressure of their expectations. "You must believe in yourself, Zuri," he urged. "You have the knowledge to help them. Show them that change can bring hope." Gathering her courage, Zuri approached the villagers. "We can adapt. We can grow stronger together." As she spoke, the scene transformed. The sun softened, and vibrant green shoots began to emerge from the earth. The villagers smiled, their faith restored. As the trials continued, the guardians faced their greatest fears and doubts. Each moment tested their resolve, pushing them to confront the very beliefs that had caused the divide within their village. They struggled, but with each challenge, they grew stronger, more united. Finally, they reached the last trial, a dark and stormy landscape filled with shadows. In the center stood Io, surrounded by swirling dark clouds, a figure engulfed in fear and anger. "Io!" Zuri called out, her heart aching for her friend. "You don't have to face this alone." Io looked lost, his eyes filled with doubt. "I cannot let go of the past. It is all I have." Kwame stepped forward, his voice steady. "Io, the past is a part of you, but it does not define you. We need you. The village needs you. You can embrace the future without forsaking your roots." Zuri reached out a hand, stepping closer to Io. "We can build a future that honors our traditions and embraces new possibilities. Together, we are stronger." Slowly, Io stepped toward them, the shadows around him receding as he accepted their words. The storm began to calm, and the light returned to the landscape. "I'm afraid," he admitted, vulnerability breaking through his defenses. "But I want to believe." In that moment, the guardians formed a circle around Io, their hands clasped tightly together. "You are not alone," they said in unison, a powerful declaration of unity that resonated through the realm. As the shadows lifted, the landscape transformed into a lush meadow, vibrant flowers blooming all around them. The air shimmered with the scent of fresh earth and the promise of renewal. The spirit appeared once more, its gaze filled with approval. "You have faced your fears and emerged united. You have shown the strength of your bonds," it proclaimed, a wave of energy washing over them. With a flourish, the spirit gestured toward the horizon, where the river's gentle flow began to appear, shimmering under the light of the sun. "The river returns, a symbol of your newfound unity. Cherish it, and remember the strength you possess when you stand together." The guardians felt a rush of exhilaration as the river flowed back into their lives. They watched in awe as the water sparkled, bringing life to the land once more. The villagers, now gathered at the edge of the grove, cheered as they witnessed the miraculous return of their lifeblood. Kwame and Zuri exchanged glances, their hearts swelling with pride and hope. They had faced their fears and emerged stronger, together. Aya smiled, his skepticism fading away as he embraced the collective spirit of the village. In the days that followed, the village of Nyansa transformed. The river's return brought abundance, and the villagers worked side by side to cultivate their land. They integrated the old ways with new practices, creating a balance that honored their ancestors while paving the way for future generations. The Festival of the Waters took on new meaning, becoming a celebration of unity and growth. As the villagers danced and sang by the riverbank, they felt the spirit's blessings surrounding them. The guardians, now revered as leaders, stood together, their bonds forged through trials that had tested their resolve. Yet, even amid this joy, Zuri sensed a lingering unease. Whispers of change were not entirely welcome, and the specter of division still lingered on the horizon. As the festival came to a close, she turned to Kwame, concern etched on her face. "Do you think we can maintain this unity?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Kwame took a deep breath, contemplating the challenges that lay ahead. "We've come so far, Zuri, but we must remain vigilant. Change is often met with resistance, and we must continue to foster understanding among our people." Just then, a group of villagers approached, their expressions a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "We've heard whispers," one woman said, her voice quivering. "Some of us are concerned about the changes. What if we lose our identity?" Kwame stepped forward, sensing the tension in the air. "Change can be frightening, but it is also necessary. We will not abandon our traditions. We will enhance them. We can create a future that respects our past while embracing new possibilities." "But what if we forget the old ways?" another villager interjected, fear etched in her voice. "What if we lose the very essence of who we are?" Zuri spoke up, her heart racing. "We are not here to erase our identity. We are here to evolve. The river flows because it adapts to the landscape around it. Just as the river changes, so must we." As the villagers listened, the murmurs of dissent began to soften. Slowly, they nodded, their expressions shifting from fear to contemplation. Kwame and Zuri exchanged glances, feeling the weight of their responsibility. "Let us hold a gathering," Kwame suggested. "A space where we can all share our fears, our hopes, and our dreams. Together, we can craft a vision that honors both the old and the new." As they spoke, the villagers began to warm to the idea. They could see that change did not have to mean loss. It could mean growth. They would create a path that honored their traditions while embracing the future. In the days that followed, preparations began for the gathering. The villagers worked together, weaving their stories into a tapestry that reflected their shared identity. They crafted a ceremony that would honor both their ancestors and the new practices they had adopted. As the gathering approached, Zuri felt a sense of hope blooming in her heart. She had seen the resilience of her people, and she believed that together they could navigate the challenges ahead. On the day of the gathering, the sacred grove filled with villagers eager to share their thoughts. The air was alive with anticipation, and as Kwam and Zuri looked out at the sea of faces, they felt the weight of their purpose. "Today, we honor our past and our future," Kwame declared, his voice steady. "Let us share our fears and hopes, and together, we will find a way to move forward." One by one, villagers spoke, sharing their stories, their dreams, and their apprehensions. The air was thick with emotion as they navigated the delicate balance between tradition and change. Zuri listened intently, her heart swelling with pride as she saw her community come together. Yet, as the gathering progressed, Zuri couldn't shake the feeling that not everyone was on board with the new vision. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the grove, she noticed Io standing at the edge, his expression shadowed with doubt. Taking a deep breath, she approached him. "Io, are you okay? You've been quiet." "I don't know, Zuri," he replied, his voice low. "What if this is all just a way to appease the spirits? What if we lose sight of what truly matters?" Zuri placed a hand on his shoulder, searching for the right words. "Change can be daunting, but we have the chance to shape our future. The spirits want us to grow, to evolve. They're not asking us to forget our roots. They're asking us to thrive." He met her gaze, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "But what if we lose our way? Then we will find it again. Together, we have each other, and as long as we remain united, we can face anything." As Zuri spoke, she felt the warmth of the gathering envelop them. She hoped to inspire Io to embrace the change rather than fear it. But she couldn't ignore the nagging doubt that lingered in the back of her mind. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the grove in hues of gold and purple, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Mama Esai, her presence commanding yet comforting. "My children," she called out, drawing the villagers' attention. "The spirits have been watching closely. They wish to know if you are truly united in your resolve." A hush fell over the grove, anticipation palpable in the air. Kwame stepped forward, determination etched on his face. "We stand united. Great Mama Esai. We will honor our past and embrace the future together." Mama Esai nodded, her eyes shimmering with wisdom. "Very well. But remember, unity is a journey, not a destination. You will face trials, but the strength of your bonds will guide you." As she spoke, the wind began to stir, swirling around them, and the villagers felt the energy of the spirits enveloping the grove. Zuri glanced at Io, sensing the tension in the air. Would he truly join them in this journey? As the gathering came to an end, the villagers shared in a feast, laughter echoing through the grove. Zuri felt the warmth of community surrounding her, yet she knew that the real challenges lay ahead. That night, as Zuri lay beneath the stars, she pondered the journey before them. Change was inevitable, but the path was not always clear. Would they be able to maintain their unity as they faced the trials ahead? As sleep began to envelop her, she whispered a silent prayer to the spirits, hoping for guidance in the days to come. The next morning, a sense of urgency filled the air. The villagers gathered at the riverbank, their faces reflecting a mix of hope and anxiety. The water flowed peacefully, but Zuri felt a storm brewing beneath the surface. They had made progress, but the real test was yet to come. As the sun rose high in the sky, the guardians prepared to confront the spirits once more. They understood that the journey ahead would require not just strength, but also unwavering unity. Kwame and Zuri exchanged glances, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together they stepped into the sacred grove, where the spirit awaited them. "You have shown commitment to your community," it said, its voice resonating through the air. "But remember, trials are the crucible in which your unity will be tested." The villagers braced themselves, feeling the weight of the spirit's words. Kwame stepped forward, his heart pounding. "We will face these trials together. We are ready." The spirit nodded, a glimmer of approval in its eyes. "Very well. Your first trial begins now. You must choose a representative from among you to journey into the depths of the river. There you will uncover the source of your fears and doubts." The villagers looked at each other, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Zuri felt her heart race. Who would take on this challenge? She stepped forward, her voice steady. "I will go." A hush fell over the crowd as they considered her decision. "Zuri, are you sure?" Ayo asked, concern etched on his face. "I must," she replied, determination coursing through her. "I want to face this challenge head-on for all of us." As she approached the river, a sense of calm washed over her. The water sparkled invitingly, but she could sense the depths held secrets. With a deep breath, Zuri plunged into the river, feeling the cool water envelop her. As she swam deeper, the world above faded away, replaced by the vibrant colors of the underwater realm. Shadows danced around her, flickering like memories. She focused on her breath, each stroke drawing her closer to the heart of her fears. Suddenly, she found herself in a vast underwater chamber filled with swirling currents. The water shimmered with energy, and at its center lay a luminous pearl, a symbol of hope and unity. But surrounding it were dark tendrils, writhing like shadows, threatening to consume the light. Zuri felt a wave of fear wash over her. These were the doubts and insecurities that had plagued her and her village. She could feel their weight pressing down on her, threatening to drown her spirit. But she remembered the strength of her community, their laughter, their resilience, the bonds they had forged. "I won't let you take me," she shouted defiantly, swimming toward the pearl. "I am not alone." As she reached out for the pearl, the dark tendrils lashed out, but she pressed on, fueled by the memories of her village. With one final push, she grasped the pearl, and a brilliant light erupted from it, illuminating the chamber. The shadows recoiled, dissolving into the depths as the light enveloped Zuri, filling her with strength and clarity. She felt the spirit's presence surround her, guiding her back to the surface. Breaking through the water, Zuri gasped for air, her heart racing. The villagers gathered at the riverbank, eyes wide with anticipation. As she emerged, she held the pearl high, its radiant glow illuminating her face. "I found the source of our fears," Zuri declared, her voice strong and unwavering. "Together, we can overcome the darkness." Cheers erupted from the crowd, a wave of relief and joy washing over them. Kwame rushed to her side, pride shining in his eyes. "You did it, Zuri. You faced the darkness and emerged victorious." But as the celebration began, Zuri felt a twinge of unease. The pearl, though powerful, was a reminder that their journey was far from over. The trials had only just begun, and they would need to remain vigilant. As the villagers gathered to celebrate, Zuri couldn't shake the feeling that the balance they had fought so hard to restore was still fragile. They had faced their fears, but what other challenges awaited them? The river flowed, but the currents of change were ever present, and she sensed that their unity would be tested again. In the days that followed, Zuri and the guardians worked tirelessly to integrate the lessons learned from the trials into their daily lives. They shared the story of the pearl with the villagers, encouraging open conversations about their fears and dreams. The atmosphere in Nyansa shifted, the bonds between the villagers growing stronger with each passing day. Yet, as the seasons changed, so too did the challenges they faced. The once abundant harvest began to dwindle, the river's flow growing unpredictable. Whispers of discontent echoed through the village once more, and Zuri could feel the tension mounting. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the grove, Kwam gathered the guardians. "We must address the villagers' concerns," he said, a sense of urgency in his voice. "If we do not act, the balance we've fought for may crumble." Zuri nodded, her heart heavy with the weight of responsibility. "We need to hold another gathering, this time to confront the challenges we face together." As the news spread, the villagers came together once more, their faces a mix of hope and apprehension. They listened intently as Zuri and Kwam outlined the need for a collective effort to address the dwindling harvest and the river's erratic flow. Ayo stood up, his voice trembling with emotion. "I want to believe in this unity, but the signs are worrying. What if our efforts are in vain?" Zuri felt her heart sink at the doubt in his words. "We have faced trials before, and we emerged stronger each time. We must not let fear dictate our path. The spirits have shown us the way." But as the discussions continued, the unease in the air grew heavier. Whispers of dissent flared up, and some villagers voiced their concerns about Uri's leadership. "What if she leads us astray?" one man challenged, his eyes filled with skepticism. "We need someone who will hold on to tradition." The weight of their doubt pressed heavily on Zuri's shoulders, and she could feel the fractures forming once more. Kwame stepped in, his voice firm. "We are all here for the same reason, to protect our home. We must channel our energy into solutions, rather than division." But as the gathering continued, the cracks widened. Some villagers began to argue, their voices rising in anger and frustration. Zuri felt a surge of panic as she watched the unity they had fought so hard to build begin to unravel. Just then, a powerful gust of wind swept through the grove, silencing the arguments. The air crackled with energy as the spirit appeared, its form shimmering with otherworldly light. "What troubles you, my children?" it asked, its voice resonating with authority. Kwame stepped forward, his heart racing. "Great Spirit, we face uncertainty. The river's flow is faltering, and our unity is at stake." The spirit regarded them with a piercing gaze. "You must confront your differences, for they are part of the balance. Only through understanding can you find strength." With those words, the villagers fell silent, each person reflecting on the weight of the spirit's message. Zuri felt a glimmer of hope flickering within her. "We can find common ground," she said, her voice steady. "But we must be willing to listen to each other, to honor our past while seeking a brighter future." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, but the tension remained palpable. The spirit raised its hand, and a vision unfolded before them. A glimpse of the challenges they would face if they continued to divide. Zuri watched, heart racing, as scenes of destruction flashed before her eyes. The river dried up completely, the land turning to dust, and the villagers scattered, lost and broken. She gasped, the weight of the vision heavy on her chest. "You have the power to shape your destiny," the spirit urged. "But the path you choose will determine the fate of your village." As the vision faded, Zuri took a deep breath, determination filling her heart. "We must come together, not just as guardians, but as a community. We need each other now more than ever." The villagers exchanged glances, and slowly, the atmosphere shifted. They began to share their fears openly, acknowledging the struggles they had faced. They talked about their dreams for the future, weaving a tapestry of hopes that honored their traditions while embracing new ideas. As the night wore on, Zuri felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were not merely fighting against change. They were fighting for their future. The spirit watched, its presence a guiding force, reminding them of the power of unity. But, as the gathering drew to a close, Zuri felt a nagging doubt in the back of her mind. The challenges ahead were not yet resolved, and she knew that the journey toward true unity would require ongoing effort. Would they be able to overcome the obstacles that lay before them? As the villagers began to disperse, Zuri felt a familiar presence beside her. It was Io. His expression contemplative. "Do you think we can really pull this off?" he asked, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. "We have to believe," Zuri replied, her heart resolute. "Together we can navigate any storm." As they walked back to the village, Zuri felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. They had faced so much together, but she knew that the true test of their unity was still to come. The river flowed on, a reminder of their bond, but the currents of change were ever present. And as Zuri gazed at the horizon, she sensed that their journey was far from over. They would face trials, confront fears, and discover the true meaning of unity. But with each step, she felt hope blooming within her heart, a promise that together they could overcome anything. As the days turned into weeks, the village of Nyansa buzzed with renewed energy. Zuri, Kwame, Ayo, and the other guardians worked tirelessly, engaging with the villagers and fostering open dialogue about their fears and hopes. The gathering had ignited a spark within the community, and slowly they began to rebuild the unity that had once felt so fragile. The river, a symbol of life and connection, flowed steadily once more, nourishing the land and its people. The villagers planted crops together, blending traditional practices with new techniques. They learned to honor the old ways while embracing innovation, finding a harmonious balance that strengthened their bond. Yet, Zuri felt a lingering unease. The spirit's warning echoed in her mind, reminding her that unity was a journey. She could see glimpses of dissent among the villagers, whispers of old fears creeping back in as the seasons changed. Some clung tightly to tradition, wary of the new paths they were forging. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow over the grove, Zuri gathered the guardians. "We need to hold another gathering," she said, her heart heavy with the weight of their responsibility. "We must address the tensions that still linger." Kwame nodded, his expression serious. "We've come far, but we must ensure that every voice is heard. We cannot afford to let doubt seep back into our community." The night of the gathering arrived, and the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Crackled with anticipation. Villagers filled the grove, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of lanterns. Zuri felt the weight of their hopes resting on her shoulders. "Tonight, we come together not just to celebrate our progress, but to confront our fears," Zuri began, her voice steady. "We must acknowledge the challenges that lie ahead and commit to facing them together." The villagers listened intently as she spoke, the energy in the grove shifting. One by one, they shared their concerns, their hopes, and their dreams for a Nyansa. Zuri felt a renewed sense of purpose as they opened their hearts to one another. But just as the conversation began to flow, a familiar voice broke through the air, one filled with doubt and anger. "You think you can just erase our traditions?" a villager shouted, his face twisted with frustration. "You're leading us astray." Zuri felt her heart race, but she knew this was a pivotal moment. "We are not erasing our traditions," she replied firmly. "We are building upon them. Change does not mean forgetting, it means growing. Together we can honor our past while shaping our future." The crowd murmured, some nodding in agreement while others remained skeptical. Zuri looked around, sensing the divide in the room. But just as she felt the weight of despair creeping in, Io stepped forward. "We've faced darkness before," he said, his voice steady. "We've seen what happens when we let fear dictate our actions. This community is stronger when we stand together, embracing both our roots and our branches." His words resonated, and slowly, the tension began to dissolve. More villagers spoke up, sharing their own fears, but also their hopes for a united future. The air filled with a sense of camaraderie, as laughter and understanding intertwined. As the gathering drew to a close, Zuri felt a wave of relief wash over her. They had confronted their differences, and in doing so, had strengthened their bond. The spirit's presence felt palpable, as if it were smiling down upon them. In the following weeks, the village continued to flourish. They created new rituals that honored their traditions while embracing innovation. The Festival of the Waters transformed into a celebration of unity, where old and new blended seamlessly. Zuri felt a profound sense of joy as she watched the villagers come together. The river, once again, flowed abundantly, nourishing the crops and the spirits of the people. With each passing day, the village of Nyansa grew stronger, woven together by shared dreams and collective efforts. One afternoon, as Zuri stood by the riverbank, she reflected on the journey they had undertaken. The trials they faced had tested their resolve, but they emerged with a deeper understanding of what it meant to be a community. They learned that unity was not the absence of conflict, but the ability to navigate through it together. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the grove, Zuri felt a sense of peace settle within her. The river flowed steadily, a reminder of their resilience. They had honored their past, embraced their present, and paved the way for a brighter future. With a heart full of hope, Zuri knew that the journey of unity was ongoing. But she also knew that as long as they faced challenges together, they would continue to thrive, creating a legacy that would echo through generations to come. And so in the village of Nyansa, life flowed like the sacred river, ever changing, ever united, and always filled with promise. I hope you enjoyed the story. If so, please like the video, let us know your views in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more enchanting tales just like this one.